Oh man. Have you been watching the mainstream media lately? Me neither, but every now and then I get little snippets. Wow. Oh no, it's a. I was like, oh, that's incredible. There's a notification that something just like my live stream is happening somewhere. All the same topics. It's a notification for my own live stream. So I want to talk about some of that stuff, and for the reasons that I always do, it serves as a great vehicle to to really put our apparently completely inadequate and badly aberrated perceptual apparatus under the microscope. And you have to, like, if you're going to heal something, it doesn't matter whether you go to a matrix normie doctor, modern medicine, or if it's a shaman. You still have to figure out what the problem is and be able to have the courage and the strength to accurately, confront the problem as it actually is. And I think that what people tend to do is sort of scale things down to something that they're comfortable with. And if you have cancer and you use this strategy, and you just tell yourself that you have a cold, then you're going to die. And the same applies to the global chaostrophe. It's true. We have to, it's very difficult to talk about anything with even negative undertones at this juncture in our culture, because people can just click away. And it's I see this in the crypto community all the time, the discords and stuff. If anyone has anything negative to say, they just get kicked out. And it kind of serves a purpose because it can negatively affect the price of the coin. But we do that. It's microcosm, macrocosm, like it always is, and we do that in the culture at large, just as much. Just shut people down that are saying things that are not consistent with what we're trying to perceive. And I think that enlightenment is not it's not about developing superpowers to impose your preferred perception of reality on, which is what people seem to think or something. I mean, that's maybe the New Age is to blame with their ideas about manifestation, which I partly agree with, but the ability to see things as they are is really what I think illumination is. Maybe illumination is a better word than enlightenment. Right? So, kind of off topic, but I do want to mention today that I got to do a Zoom call with the developers, the team from DMT Token, which is a cryptocurrency that is looking to raise money for psychedelic research. And they seemed very much interested in helping with indigenous projects and getting these people that don't have access to cryptocurrency and that could maybe empower themselves if that was addressed. And I'd already had this agenda for myself to convince the Shuar and the Warani and some of the other local tribes to get wallets at least set up so that they can receive cryptocurrencies, to hopefully invest some of the money that they get for conservation and blow it up. Because if they're going to fight an empire like the Chinese that is coming into the jungle to steal all of their minerals, they're going to need a lot of money. And I don't think that they have adequate funds. In fact, I know they don't have adequate funds and I think that cryptocurrency could be a solution to that. And so it sounds like they had already been thinking about this, that they would like to find ways to facilitate the use of cryptocurrency in indigenous communities. And it was a really interesting conversation. And if I had any doubts about the authenticity of the project or any questions about it, they definitely all struck me as like really sincere, genuine people that were really determined to make a difference. And so I, at this point, am 100% convinced that it's not a scam. There's nothing to worry about, a rug pull or anything like that. They really mean what they're saying, and they're invested in what they're doing. It's coming from a soul place. So I'm really excited to be working with them. And, you know, in the interest of full disclosure, this is not a paid promotion, although there have been some talks about that, but I have not been paid anything as of yet. So I am just promoting the project, although I'm not doing any more free shilling, and that's basically what I told them. I'm not, you know, I've noticed that I mention projects to you guys, and I get all these messages, and I see in the social media feeds that you're actually buying the stuff. So I have to look out for my own interest too, and I'm not doing any more free shilling. So, you know, in the future, if you hear me talking about a coin, you can bet your life that I believe in the project, but they're also paying me in the future, or I'm not doing it. It's just, you know, we got to draw a line somewhere. And for me, that's where I'm drawing it right now. So let's talk about some stuff that people now are, that the mainstream media is now saying that I personally was laughed at and attacked and canceled, and I lost a lot of income over it, a lot of supporters. I mean, one guy that was such a fan that he flew here from California to see this debate that I did, and I said something negative about Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. He couldn't handle it, and he withdrew his patron support and stuff, and it just blew my mind that, you know, somebody that was that appreciated my content to that extent would react like that to just, I mean, I've never said anything that, for example, about Kamala Harris, that she doesn't freely admit. And that is what is so insane and disturbing about the people that will cancel you and become furious and hurl insults when you point this stuff out. It's not conspiracy theory. And it does matter. It really, really matters. If we have a woman in the White House who kept a person that she knew to be innocent on death row for 18 years, fighting him, even though she knew he was innocent, that is a big problem. People should not be okay with that. I don't know how anyone is okay with that. And, I mean, she was confronted about this during a Democratic debate by another Democrat who happened to be a minority and a woman herself, and Kamala Harris didn't deny any of it because it's all a matter of public record. She's been called a monster by like 10 judges. Seriously, like, this is all court record. Like, that is what we have in the White House. And, you know, I was no fan of Donald Trump, but I've literally had people that are like, you know, really committed Democrats tell me, oh yeah, I know about Kamala Harris's record. It's really terrible, but I still sit my 5-year-old daughter down in front of the TV and, you know, tell her to look up to her because she's a black woman that has made it all the way and is so inspiring and shit. And it's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. You're telling your child to worship Satan. Like, that's, I don't care if she's black and or green and transsexual. You know what I mean? And president. If she's evil, you don't tell your children to admire them. Like, and, you know, I'm not trying to just stir the pot here. I really think it matters that people snap out of this. I mean, when you talk about indoctrination and you talk about selective perception and you talk about propaganda, you know, you get a lot of eye rolling and scoffing and these are generally people that will talk a lot about needing to have proof for things. And so when you say, well, all of this stuff that you're scoffing at and rolling your eyes, you know, like, for example, a lot of the stuff that I've said about the CIA and the propagandists and and it's all been released in the Freedom of Information Act. Like, the government has admitted, like, I won't talk about anything in this live stream that they haven't fessed to themselves. Not, like, no reading between the lines, no conjecture, only things that they have admitted to doing. And so even though you have proof, and in the case of Kamala Harris, she doesn't even deny it. She was confronted on, and this is part of the lesson about our consciousness and our ability to edit our perception in real time. Most of the people that are really committed Democrats that I've talked to that actually watched the debate where Tulsi Gabbard called Kamala Harris out on all of her horrendous human rights violations. And I mean, you know, a big deal is made about the fact that she's half black and that she's, you know, the vice president. But she has literally kept slaves for the state. Like, and again, this is not conspiracy theory. This is not right-wing mudslinging. I'm not a right-winger. I hate right-wingers even more than I hate the left wing. I mean, I don't like either side at this juncture, you know. How could you? It's none of that. She has kept people unconstitutionally in prison past their release date consistently when they were working for the state on a prison labor force of some kind. Routinely, she would find ways to keep these people doing slave labor for the state in prison past their release date. Like, seriously. And we have people telling their children to look up to this woman? I mean, I know people hate me for it, but I've got to say something. I mean, and everyone should be saying something. She's one of the most awful people that has ever, that I am aware of in the history of the United States political system. And there have been some pretty bad people. Kamala Harris is arguably the worst ever. And that's fucking crazy. So let's talk about COVID-19 for a second. Remember when it came out and people were saying, like, it is lab engineered, and the mainstream media and the left and all of these people were like, oh, you're such an idiot if you believe that. Our scientists say that it's not, and our scientists are never wrong. And now they're like, well, actually, it probably did come from that lab in China. And I mean, if you just really like try to process how adamant and angry and oh, you fucking moron, like, you know what I mean? Like, science, that we have like 4 scientists that all work for big pharma that have declared that COVID couldn't possibly have been engineered in a laboratory. And they're seriously like, I mean, I lost hundreds of thousands, literally thousands of followers for stating the obvious. And now all of a sudden, the left and Biden and the intelligence agencies are all saying that, yes, it probably did come from a laboratory. And I think that we are doing our planet, we are doing each other, we are doing our culture, we are doing our neighbors, and we are doing ourselves, if I didn't say that already, all a great disservice if we fail to take note of this kind of occurrence. It's terrible for people to do this. And I mean, let's just like put this in perspective, how obvious and stupid this was from the very beginning. There's one laboratory in the entire world that engineers COVID weapons, I guess. I don't know what the fuck they're doing there. And listen, I promised that I would not make any claims that cannot be substantiated by government paperwork, okay? Like, everything I'm about to say was reported in the mainstream news. You know, conspiracy theorists were saying it as well, but this is something we have consensus about. No one denies it. That laboratory where COVID-19 originated on the doorstep or whatever that they told us couldn't possibly have come from that laboratory, that's already like the stupidest thing ever. that anyone believed them. Like, it's terrifying. It really is. Both the Obama administrations and the Trump administrations gave them millions of dollars. So that's super weird too. You know, another big, huge, massive point for the conspiracy theorists. Like, what in the hell is that? And you know, this is not a laboratory where they're looking for ways to fight COVID strains. They're engineering new ones, you know? I mean, I don't know whose dumb fucking idea it was to start intentionally accelerating the mutation of viruses. You know, I mean, these things are here for population control. If you accelerate their mutation, you could only assume that the consequence is going to be accelerated depopulation of people. So, I mean, I said I wasn't going to get into too much conjecture, so I'm just going to leave that where it lies. But what the fuck are they doing? And then so here we have basically a guy with a .45 caliber gun in his hand, standing next to a body that has a dozen bullet holes in it, and the gun has been fired 12 times, and the bullets all definitely forensically have been confirmed to have come from that gun. And the authorities say, well, he clearly didn't do it. And then all of the people say, well, you're clearly an idiot if you think otherwise. That is COVID-19 last year, in a nutshell. That was the narrative. That's what people were saying, the overwhelming majority of zombie morons in the United States. And I'm trying to be funny, you know, using this like derogatory language, and I definitely mean it. I mean, it's true. I don't hate anyone, but I definitely don't have any love for the mainstream of the United States, the normies. Like, I mean, everything that is wrong with this planet, they are just apathetically tolerating. Their fear, lack of courage, it's all just facilitating the complete destruction of the entire world. And it is also this totally bland, vapid, empty culture that they are consuming everything that we need, and they're getting practically nothing out of it. Like, they just are full of benzodiazepines and SSRIs, and they sit on the couch and they watch fucking Kim Kardashian's ass shake around or whatever. Like, it's like they're destroying everything for nothing, you know? I mean, the culture is horrendously awful. And it's the reason for most of the destruction. So, I mean, they have to be drugged so intensely in order to maintain their delusions and to tolerate their own lives that the oceans are testing positive for benzodiazepines, like Xanax and Valium and stuff. I mean, really think about that. The oceans, you know how big the oceans are? You can just dip, you know, I think it's up to like 100 miles offshore or something like that. Test positive for benzodiazepines. I mean, that is amazing. Okay? So now, and then listen to how this happened too. You know, propagandists use, what is the word? Subconscious influencing a lot more, mostly because if you confront someone's conscious mind, that's just not a good way to influence them. It's much better to bypass that and try to be as subtle and subliminal as possible. Much less confrontational, and much more effective on just so many levels. And so I don't know how this happened because I don't ever watch like CNN or Fox or, well, that's not true. Every once in a while I want to see what they're saying because it kind of tells us what might be going on in the world. Like, give us some heads up as to like what might be coming down the pipes next, right? So I turned on a CNN clip, probably on YouTube, and remember that the liberals, you know, they're like, oh, you're such an idiot. The scientists say that COVID, is definitely not engineered. You're a fucking moron if you believe that. I mean, it was that blunt, they were really, really like just adamant and like super insulting. I mean, almost all of them, how I remember this. So the CNN anchor just kind of casually says like the COVID-19 virus, which was engineered in a Chinese laboratory, blah, 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 and he keeps going. So they just started inserting the truth into like the mainstream medium narrative without making a big deal about it. So it's like suddenly the narrative had twisted like a contortionist. Sleight of hand, quick exchange. The old tricks have been rearranged. And so almost no one noticed that their opinion and their perception had just changed, because really people aren't nearly as stupid as they act. I think most people are not really concerned with truth, obviously. What is that that great Mr. Bungle song? Now I'm finding truth is a ruin, nauseous in that nobody is pursuing, staring into glassy eyes, mesmerized. Right? That whole trip, like, they're not really trying to get to the bottom of anything, you know what I mean? They're not really that concerned. If they can continue to go about their lives, just going to work, coming home, tolerating their spouse, you know what I mean? Like, that's whatever, that's it. That's pretty much the extent of their cognitive capacity, or at least their inclination to think. It doesn't go really far beyond that, from what I can tell. So the mainstream news narrative just suddenly changed, and they almost just didn't even notice. I think. I mean, that's how it appears, because it's not like it was a big deal. Like, these people that just a few months ago were laughing at people and canceling their friends and calling people idiots over this just didn't even respond when suddenly CNN is saying, well, it probably did come from a lab in China. So it's like, okay, from my point of view, people should be asking, okay, wait, were they lying about this the whole time? Did they know Trump was right the whole time? Like, or his people that were informing him were telling him correctly? I mean, that's probably a better way to put it. And not, like, you guys, did you seriously need Trump to tell you that a virus that was found on the fucking doorstep of the only lab in the world that engineers that particular type of virus came from that virus? I mean, that laboratory. Did you really need Donald Trump or anyone to explain that to you? I would hope not. I really would hope not. Because it's just the dumbest thing in the history of stupid things that I can think of. So obvious. Okay? It's funny too, man. I hope that as I see people tuning in and tuning right back out, it's like, you saw the title of this video. Like, what the fuck did you think I was going to be saying, And you know what? I've noticed not one of you has said anything through this whole thing. I mean, I don't know if my chat is off or something, but you guys haven't said a fucking thing. Like, not one person. I don't know what to make of that. Okay, so what about Bill Gates? Okay, speaking of conspiracy theory shit that all of the normies laughed at last year and canceled people for saying and scoffed and rolled their eyes and all that kind of fun stuff. So over time, it's gone from well, I met him once, to well, I went to his island 3 times. Oh, well, I flew on his jet 13 times because I didn't know it was his jet, to his wife divorcing him, and alluding to it being about Bill's relationship with Epstein somehow. So here we are in the space of a few weeks. By the way, I noticed that the CEOs of almost every like major corporation on the planet have resigned recently. I don't know if that's related to any of this or like what the hell that's about, but I saw a full list of like CEO resignations today, and it was crazy. Like they all have stepped down. That's weird, you know? I mean, I'm not trying to say anything about it other than that that's really weird, you know? But so Bill Gates is almost definitely a pedophile. And it's not just that he went to, he flew in the guy's jet, that he went to his house, that his relationship with Epstein did not begin until after Epstein's first conviction, which Bill Gates absolutely, definitely knew about. So, despite the risks that someone like Bill Gates would be totally aware of, he still chose to associate with this guy. Why? Did he need a business connection? He's the richest man in the world, or like number 3 or whatever. I mean, I don't know exactly how long ago this was, but you know, he was up there. So he didn't need a motherfucking thing from Epstein. Not in terms of like business connections or any of that, anything of that nature. So what motivation did he have to start hanging out with Epstein all the time other than young girls? And why did he lie about it over and over and over and over and over? I mean, I watched a video on YouTube the other day. I should have put the link in the description so you guys could check this out yourselves. The kid that made it was not a conspiracy theorist. He was not a right-winger. He was not any of, you know, no one that you would associate with conspiracy. You know, a normal guy. I think he does like, he does investment analysis and advice videos, and also busting gurus, like financial gurus that are really actually scam artists. I can't remember the name of the channel, but so he was the one that put this video together, and you know, he all the quotes, Bill Gates changing his story over and over and over and over and over. So this isn't just people saying shit. It's all documented. And I mean, I don't know if you guys know about like, I wish I could remember her name, but the woman from India that's been speaking out about Bill Gates and saying that what he's actually done is come here and starved everyone and fucked all the farmers over and taken their land and destroyed the lives of every person that he came anywhere near. His foundation is about taking the land and getting control of the food supply. It's not about helping anyone. So, you know, here we are again. This Bill Gates stuff started to surface at about the same time that everyone was laughing at the idea that COVID had been engineered in a laboratory. And so the elite pedophile ring was another thing that all of the normies were laughing about around the same time. And now it has come out that Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, I mean, you know, we really already knew this, but it's like the New York Times and CNN and all of the normie brainwashing organizations, the mind control police or whatever, the thought police, they're all finally saying this. And it's just unavoidable. I think at a certain point, you can no longer sweep the shit under the rug. It's no longer hiding in the shadows. It's, you know, standing right in front of you, ready to bite your face off, and there's just nothing that you can do but acknowledge it, because that they can do, but acknowledge it, because it's just too ridiculous to try to act like it's not real still or something. So, you know, that's just kind of the, and you have to understand, for me, I really don't give a shit about Bill Gates or international politics or COVID-19 really, or any of it. But I do care about personal freedom, and I do care about truth, and I do care about the possibility that there could be a bunch of psychopaths that are trying to get absolute control over every living soul, and, you know, that whole trip. And it doesn't seem really that unreasonable to suspect that something of that nature is occurring. I mean, they're monitoring everything we say, everything we do, everything we think. Most of us willingly putting this information into their like monitoring systems, which, social media, their ability to create a profiling based on your tendencies and statements, and I mean, it's more powerful than any therapist or psychologist you would ever go to, psychoanalyst, in terms of its accuracy, their analytical power using your data. So, when we know that, I mean, people say, it's an old cliche, right? That absolute power corrupts absolutely. Conspiracies are only possible when a very small number of people are involved. That small number of people must derive some benefit, like the conspiratorial analysis of the situation passes the conspiracy test on every level. The people that stand to benefit from this are the elite at the top of the pyramid. Big pharma, big tech, the military-industrial complex. At this point, there are very few players at the very top. So we have a small group of people. All of the manipulation from COVID to the lockdowns have benefited the potential conspirators. So it's like, one of the major criticisms of conspiracy theorists is that, you need evidence in order to, formulate a theory. And it's like, well, actually the evidence overwhelmingly suggests something much more consistent with the conspiracy theorist narrative than the mainstream narrative. And at this point, the mainstream narrative reflects the conspiracy theory narrative from a year ago more than it does the mainstream narrative from a year ago. That's absolutely a fact. And it doesn't really seem like the normies, the mainstream, the unconscious masses are even noticing. And that is why, that's a big part of the reason I feel compelled to make this clarion call to action. These are the circumstances that dictatorships like Nazi Germany arise from. And, I know I've said this recently and I don't want to get redundant, but I think the argument that like they wouldn't do that sort of unethical, killing people and controlling everyone kind of stuff, when you consider that their predecessors dropped like nukes on cities full of women and children, and you trust these people not to like lie and deceive and conspire? Like who the fuck are we dealing with out there? Who are these people? Because it's not logical. It's insane. It's completely insane. And I think that those of us that are conscious and aware really need to take note of how severe the cognitive dissonance and cognitive bias and selective perception, which is really just polite ways of saying like brainwashed, delusional zombies that are drugged with SSRIs and Xanax and miserable. Like some report I just saw said that 86% of Americans are disengaged from their careers, which is saying that they hate what they do. We have this epidemic of shootings. It's just, we've clearly reached a tipping point. And the fact that you're ostracized for even acknowledging the absolutely obvious And then when the same people that were furious at you for suggesting certain things change their mind and like it doesn't cause a stir at all. I mean, I've known since I was a child, literally a child, that something was wrong. You know, when I was on the playground looking around at all the Christian kids, that they would ask me questions sometimes, and I would tell them that I didn't believe in Jesus or whatever, and they hated me for it. Absolutely, like, jumped me in groups and stuff, you know, like big groups of them. Burn the Witch was definitely still a thing in the South when I was a kid. And so I knew that people had religions based on their location, like their culture. And it was so hard for me to understand. How is it possible that these people don't understand that they're only Christian because their parents were Christian, not because it's true? You know, like people in India or Hindu or whatever, and it's just really obvious, like, how that works, why that happens. To me, as like a 6-year-old, you know? So what I'm saying is that even though I have been aware that there was something wrong with the perceptual apparatus of the masses, I never would have imagined that it was as bad as it actually is. I mean, my entire life, I felt like I was walking around amongst the living dead, and I knew that they suffered from some degree of indoctrination, and that fear compelled them to believe things that couldn't possibly be true. But I never would have imagined that it was as bad as it actually is until the present moment. And so what do? We invest in fucking DMT token, for one thing. And projects like it, you know. There's another one called Seeds that I'm really interested in, Seeds currency. You know, I'm not sure, you know, like if communes or something, I just don't feel like there's anywhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. You can't get away from it. You can't just create your own bubble and just pretend like it's not happening. The elite have gotten too aggressive. The resources are dwindling too much. The toxins are accumulating too rapidly. Burying our heads in the sand or finding our own enclaves in the middle of nowhere doesn't really seem like a sufficient resolution to the problem that we're experiencing. I have trouble believing that no one has said anything this entire time in the chat. I feel like it's like somehow turned off, and I just didn't know that I did it. So, you know, you guys, that's basically it. I just felt compelled to kind of point out that so much of the stuff that the normie mainstream gelatinous mass of unthinking carbon was laughing and scoffing and even furious if you suggested a year ago has become part of their narrative officially. And none of them have even noticed. It doesn't really seem like it's compelling a lot of them to say, okay, well, if I thought that was completely stupid and insane and impossible, what else did I think could turn out to be stupid and insane and impossible? I mean, when I think ego has got a lot to do with it. Like, people feel offended or insulted when they find out that they're wrong. And that is another reason why psychedelic medicine is so important. Finding the humility to be grateful when you are corrected, when you receive new information. You know, when people criticize me or call me an idiot or tell me that I'm insane, I will just try to objectively contemplate this information and see if they might be correct. because if they are, then I will try to adapt, you know. And it's difficult for me to understand how it is that people have so much difficulty with that. It's necessary. Darwinian evolution isn't really about survival of the fittest. It's about the most adaptable surviving. So this sort of like resistance to adaptation is suicidal. And maybe it's time that the unthinking masses just all committed suicide. I mean, I can't say that I would be terribly distressed about that. I'm just over it. I'm over it. Do me a favor though, hit the like button, share, subscribe, and support us on Patreon if you would like to see premium content. I just posted a reincarnation reveal where I disclose who I think I might have been in a past life. And I found a cave full of gold, and I posted a video of that. I'm not kidding. It sounds ridiculous, both of those things, but it's true. That you can find that in the patron. Why does it look like the chat is off, man? I know you guys always say stuff. It's got to be off. Man, that's obnoxious. I don't think I can fix it now, even if I knew how. We just have to empower ourselves and other people like us. That is why I am so inspired by the conversation that I had with the DMT token crew today. There are people out there that are doing good work, and cryptocurrency is it's an unprecedented tool, or it's unprecedented in its potential to redistribute wealth and for example, to make conservation profitable. And to fund psychedelic research and legitimize the medicine. These are our primary weapons against the zombie masses and their totally pointless, vapid, bland, destructive, horrendously fucking obnoxious culture. Because I mean, we understand how psychedelics work now. The way that they establish communication between normally non-communicative regions of the brain and actually build the brain and create new neural pathways. What that means basically is that someone that could like scoff at you for saying that COVID was created in a laboratory, right? And then a year later when CNN says, well, yeah, actually it was created in a laboratory, and they don't even notice that they've changed their mind. If they take LSD and a new neural pathway connects these two patches in their brain, they might realize like, holy shit, that's fucking crazy. I'm nuts. I need to like, make my perception holistic and address this. And it's true. That's what psychedelics do. These massive holes in our perception are light is shined where people refuse to see. That is really usually what bad trips are about. There are two major components to that. One component of it is that people cling to their shadow self to such an extent that oftentimes they'll become suicidal before they're willing to release the shadowy elements that actually do not serve them, because they believe that that part of themselves is a essential constituent of their identity. And so when San Pedro or ayahuasca or LSD comes along and tries to pry that shadow aspects out of their being, that thing that no longer serves them, they'll cling to it desperately, violently. I mean, I've been attacked. I've seen people become suicidal in ceremonies just because they're not wanting to release some toxic, destructive element of their being. And the other element of it is that people are forced to confront the fact that there is more to reality than they had previously been willing to consider. And I have no idea why that's anything other than just joyful for people to expand the parameters of their perception and what is available to them to experience. Um, to me, that's awesome. But I guess for a lot of people, that's terrifying. That whatever little narrow tunnel, their reality tunnel that they've defined for themselves, when that threatens to change, they just lose their fucking minds. And I don't understand that, but that's what happens. And so it makes our task of compelling these people to really open their minds and to confront the individual and the collective shadow. Um, Very difficult. It's very difficult to compel people. It's easier to compel demons to constrain them to your will, probably, than than to convince people to override their own cognitive dissonance and cognitive bias. But even though it sounds like I'm being really negative right now, I'm actually not. I'm hoping that the reason we're not seeing a major reaction to all this news, that all of these things that these people were scoffing and laughing at and becoming angry when people suggested a year ago are actually true, that it's just coming out. And, you know, also the authorities haven't said, you know, the people that define reality for these unthinking masses, they haven't come right out and said, like, COVID definitely did come from a lab. They're just saying that, well, maybe that's what happened and we should look into it. But, I mean, if you have any brain activity, you probably, I mean, it's incredible to me. It's incredible to me that we could have this virus that came from the front porch of this Wuhan lab, that only a new strain and the only lab that engineers that particular type of virus, and people are rolling their eyes at people that suggest that maybe it came from that laboratory, calling them idiots. That's fucking terrifying, man. It really is. Like, I'm afraid of those people. They're not sane, and it's the majority. And, you know, it makes me want to make $1 billion and buy an island somewhere that all of us that are in any degree illuminated can go and run away to, because the overwhelming majority of the masses seem to have completely fucking gone insane. And it's really a shame, because if you think about what the real tragedy is here, it's mostly that human potential is being squandered, and probably deliberately, in the interests of a small group of people. It's not like, I mean, look, the people that take things at face value, it really is like a level of naivety that totally has crossed the line into mental illness. Really has. It's delusion. Like, it's naivety taken to the point of delusion. Because the authorities are not just misguided. The education system in the United States 20 years ago, like when I went to high school in Fairfax County, it was the #1 public education system in the entire world. And the United States held that position collectively for many, many years. Now it's like number 30. you know, if you're in like the top like 10 countries in terms of resources, access to information, sophistication, the only way that you're going to fall from number 1 in education all the way down to number 26 is deliberately destroying the education system. That is not something that just happens because people are inept or, you know, the thing. Oh, I didn't say anything about Joe Biden. Jesus, man. You know I said this in the last live stream, but this motherfucker, like, okay, this is another really good example of the cognitive bias and the cognitive dissonance. But I'm gonna give it to both sides, okay? Because I don't want anyone to think I'm a closet right winger or a closet leftist or anything, because I'm not. I'm not anything. I'm just a person on the outside looking in. That's kind of how I view myself, because it's true. I've never been invested in any of this shit as feeling like a member of a party or. Man, I hate that you guys, the chat is off, because I know people have been saying shit, and I wish I could see it. I'm almost tempted just to make a new link and start over. Maybe I will. I don't know. I like talking to you guys. This is just weird, and I'm just talking forever, and there's nothing coming up. What was I saying, though? About Biden. Oh, yeah. I'm going to give it to everybody. Okay, so it's very similar to what the right wing did with Donald Trump, okay? They were all like, he's going to save us from the elite pedophile ring. And then the left is like, there's no elite pedophile ring. And I'm going like, you're both complete idiots. Like, there is an elite pedophile ring, and Donald Trump isn't saving anybody from fucking anything. That's the reality. Like, it's not hard to see. Donald Trump has been making comments about banging his own daughter since she was 13 years old. I mean, he's so fucked in the head that he didn't even know it was wrong. He literally asked a reporter, a Washington Post reporter, is it wrong that I'm more attracted to my daughter than to my own wife? When she was 13 years old, and this is the guy the right wing thinks is gonna save them from fucking pedophiles. And all the whole while, they're going, oh, look, pictures of Bill Clinton with Epstein and pictures of all the people they don't like with Epstein. And it's like, well, what about Trump and Epstein? There's like 42 pictures or something. Like, they were neighbors and they hung out all the time. And what? What the fuck is wrong with you people? You know? But then the left is simultaneously doing it. And I'm telling you guys, this shit is orchestrated. It's totally intentional. This is how propaganda works. This is the mechanism behind the propaganda, is to just make people fucking insane. And also, you make sure that no one is right. They're all wrong. Everyone's wrong. And it's not really that hard to engineer this stuff. So then you have the left, okay? And they're like, you know, everyone is racist, and we need to get non-racist. Trump is racist, and the right wing is racist. And true, it's mostly true. There are a lot of people on the right wing that are not racist. There are a lot of people on the left that are racist. There are a lot of black people that are racist. There are tons of black people that are racist. One of my black friends once told me that black people are the most racist people on earth. And then if black people were the ones in power, do you think there'd be any white people left alive? You know, he was like laughing like, you know, come on, man, let's be realistic. It's just like whoever the victim is the one that pulls the card, you know. If the tables were turned, it would be the same shit. And I'm not saying that justifies it or that it makes better sense or something, but what I am saying is that the narrative that you're fed has got nothing to do with reality. And George Floyd, for example, is like the worst martyr in the history of martyrs. Like, there are lots of totally innocent black people that had never committed a crime that have been unjustly killed by cops that they could have made martyrs out of. I absolutely do believe that George Floyd was chosen because he was somebody that the right wing could say, you guys are making a martyr of a guy that put a gun to a pregnant woman's belly and was about to drive an SUV while high on meth and fentanyl into traffic and maybe kill a whole family full of innocent people. So I do think that the media and the propaganda machines chose that situation to be the one that they're gonna make a fucking martyr out of the biggest douchebag in the history of the criminal justice system or whatever. There were plenty of actually innocent black people that have been killed by cops that they could have used as an example. Yes, I do think that shit is deliberate. Is there institutionalized racism? Absolutely. But is what I'm saying untrue? Fuck no, it isn't. No, it's not. And that is how they do it. And that is why we can't get anywhere. Because, you know, you can't even say what I just said to most people without, you know, I've been called racist for pointing out that this seems like deliberate manipulation. Not to mention the fact that George Floyd and the cop that killed him had personal issues, you know? So it was just like the worst, like if you're going to choose something to, and then what about the BLM? Does it really seem realistic that the leaders of the BLM are going to be black, and also the other thing that the right wing hates the most in the world, which is like Marxists and communists, and she's not really meaning it, because right now there's all this controversy that she's been caught buying millions of dollars worth of real estate with donation money. So the evidence that it's all contrived, that it's all a play and a bunch of manipulation, there is mountains of it everywhere you look. And it's all for the sake of keeping the people divided. Okay, but there's more. Okay? So Donald Trump, I mean, the guy is a horrific douchebag in my opinion. But he's donated millions and millions of dollars to black charities. He got an award with Rosa Parks and Muhammad Ali standing next to him for helping black communities. Joe Biden, who was supposed to be the solution to Donald Trump's shit, was like the most horrifically openly racist politician in recent history. Like king of that shit. Like he was eulogizing Klansmen. Seriously, he actually eulogized like the grand master of the fucking Ku Klux Klan. And this is the answer they're giving us to the racist right wing. And you got the whole world locked down after, by the way, billionaires mentioned they were afraid the unwashed masses were about to eat them. What else? Oh yeah, there were riots all over the planet. Like France was burning down, like America looked like it was about to explode any second. And all of a sudden there's a lockdown order. And then they put, to get rid of racism, the most racist politician in the history of the recent history of the United States, totally openly racist throughout his entire career. Like he just suddenly changed or something, like, ta, you know. He was making horrifically racist comments during his campaign for president. I saw them. They were on television. He doesn't even know the difference. Like, he compared a group of black girls to roaches during this recent campaign. I saw it with my own fucking eyes. It's still on YouTube. Like, and then you tell the people that support these people this stuff and they roll their eyes and scoff and get angry at you. That is the kind of shit that sets the stage for a Nazi Germany kind of scenario. It really is. That level of denial and delusion and, you know, and like I said, it's just as bad on the right wing. But that doesn't make the situation any better. It just means that we're fucked on all sides if we don't like seriously find a voice that can unify all of these people regardless of this tremendous influence to keep them disunified. The natural tendency of all systems in the universe is towards homeostasis. So if humanity is not naturally rising to a greater level of harmony, it's because somebody's shaking the fucking ant farm. And the scary thing about it to me is how obvious all of the details are. None of this is hidden. It's all in plain sight. Every bit of it. All of the cognitive dissonance, all of the cognitive bias, all of the propaganda, all of the shit, right wing, left wing, all of the crap that's going on. It's not even that difficult to see it. It's like they're not even really bothering to try to hide it anymore because they know that they've got them all pumped full of Xanax and SSRIs and they're drunk and they don't care anyways. So they're not really even trying that hard anymore. When I was younger, they used to be like way more suave and like, you know, careful about their propagandizing and manipulation and shit. And now they're just so sloppy and ridiculous and over the top with it that it's incredible. And, you know, people just don't bat an eye somehow. So let's continue with, I feel, a little bit disturbed about the people that are dialing in that didn't hear that I already did all this to the right wing, okay? We've already put them through the same kind of ringer. So now it's the left's turn. So we have Joe Biden, who, the 1994 crime bill totally destroyed black communities, like decimated them, completely horrendous. And what people don't realize is that the CIA has admitted that they actually introduced crack into black ghettos during this time period. They have released that. This is not conspiracy theory. The CIA has released it. They were forced to because of the Freedom of Information Act. The cop that blew the whistle was found suicided with 2 bullet holes in the back of his ear, behind his ear. And that's, that's the standard way to assassinate someone, right? It's how the government trains people to assassinate people. So the whistleblower suicided, 2 shots to the head. And this is all real, okay, so they introduced the crack, and then Biden and his people write this 1994 crime bill, which is designed to solve the African-American homeless problem by putting them all in fucking prison, right? That's the guy that we are offered to combat Trump's racism. And you even point this shit out, and they'll laugh and scoff, roll their eyes, get angry with you. It's fucking insane, right? And now here we are getting locked down around the whole country amidst a bunch of riots, while people are awakening and deprogramming using ayahuasca and psychedelics and DMT on a scale that makes the 1960s look like a fucking frat party, right? The entire planet is starting to look like a Grateful Dead parking lot. People are fucking ready to eat the billionaires, and all of a sudden everyone's locked in their house because of a virus that we're now being told actually did come from a Chinese lab that they have admitted was funded by 2 opposing presidential administrations. But conspiracy theorists are all a bunch of silly idiots, right? I mean, you guys, you think I want to believe this stuff? I would rather think that everything is okay, that the leaders, in Washington and everywhere else might be kind of whacked out and out of touch, but they're not like sadistic, malicious psychopaths trying, you know what I mean? Like, I would way rather believe that. I'm being forced to confront the fact that it's obviously not the case. Something much, much worse is happening than most people are comfortable entertaining. I don't think there's really any question about that at this point. I mean, key bono, who benefits on every front is so answerable that it's ridiculous. So, okay, so not only are we offered Joe Biden as the antidote to racism, even though he's like a flaming racist, and people seem to have forgotten that he dropped out of Obama or the race before, because he said that about Obama, and I quote, "A clean, intelligent, articulate black man? That's like a dream. It just doesn't happen." That's why he dropped out of the last race, for saying that. That's your solution to racism in America. That guy. Really? That was just a couple years ago. Like, I mean, it was, 12 years ago, I guess now, but still. Like, what do you think happened to this guy since then? I mean, and what about Kamala Harris? Okay? Right before she was announced as Joe Biden's partner, she said, well, the real question at a debate on television, this is still on YouTube, you can look it up yourself. She said, the real question about Joe Biden, is he a rapist or a racist? She is black and a woman. They announce her as the running partner, and she's like, oh, I love him. She was actually confronted by Stephen Colbert about that on the whatever that show is, the Colbert Report. And she said, it's a debate. Like, you're a fucking sick, psychopathic liar. Like, the fact that you were in a debate does not have any bearing on that at all, Like, what are you talking about? I mean, you're a black woman that has kept slaves for the state. Like, what does the fact that it was a debate have to do with the fact that you were willing to saddle up next to someone that you have just called a rapist and a racist, even though you're a black woman? And we have every liberal in the country sitting their little girls in front of their TV and telling them to look up to this woman. That is just as bad as expecting Donald Trump to liberate us all from pedophiles. It's just as stupid and as insane. It might even be scarier, really. Because if you ask me, the fact that it is public record, no one disputes it, not Kamala Harris, not anyone, right? The Democratic Party, other members of the Democratic Party have confronted her about this stuff on national television. Millions of people saw it. They all act like it didn't happen somehow, but millions of people saw it. She should be in prison forever for keeping a person that she knew to be innocent on death row, where he would have been killed if she had gotten her way, just because she wanted to save a little bit of face. And people are sitting their children in front of the TV and telling them to look up to her. This world has cracked. The motherfucking thing has cracked. Like, I mean, this is just like, it's like telling your kids to admire Nazis. It's really not any less wrong to put Kamala Harris on a pedestal as it would be to put, I don't know what their names are, like Karl Goebel or whatever the hell the Nazi guys' names were. It's not any less evil. It really isn't. So, I guess all we can really do at the current juncture is watch. Oh, well, I didn't finish my point. So we have everyone getting locked down over this virus that we're now being told is coming from this lab that was funded by the US government, even though it's in China, for some reason that no one cares to explain. And of course the media is not gonna ask, like, although they did report on it, the mainstream media has acknowledged it. That's weird too. It's like, why do they sometimes kind of like, maybe because they think it's gonna get out anyways and they just don't want to get caught, like, they don't want to get caught manipulating. I don't know. I have no fucking idea why that happens. But man, I wonder how many dislikes I'm gonna have. I'm sure there's gonna be some. I mean, I don't see any yet. Yeah, it says chat is disabled. You know what? I wonder if they did that because of the topic. I didn't do anything. I didn't turn it off. I bet you they did. They, because you see, I have these, like, get the latest information from the WHO about coronavirus. There's like all these warnings on the video. I bet you it was YouTube that disabled the fucking chat. It wasn't me. I didn't touch anything that would do that. That's fucking crazy. They turned the chat off because of the subject matter. So, okay, so aside from the fact that as an antidote to racism, we're given the most racist politician they could find, deliberately, guarantee you, he also claimed to have authored the Patriot Act, which stripped everyone of their rights. And I mean, you want to talk about racist? The Constitution of the United States says that people were given inalienable rights by God, not by the government. Okay, so that implies that if the government thinks that they can override those rights, that they are somehow have a greater authority than the God that they acknowledge having given those rights to people. Like, they can override God. That's some crazy shit, right? So there's that. And so, you know, the Patriot Act says that you don't get a trial, you don't get a phone call, you don't get anything. I mean, you're fucked. They can torture you. And so Americans were like, well, it's okay. They say they're not going to use it on American citizens. Okay, that's not racist or anything. Like, only Americans shouldn't be subjected to torture, and only Americans have a right to trial. Brown people from the Middle East, We can go ahead and just throw them in prison cells for all the rest of their life just because their jealous neighbor accused them of being a terrorist, and we don't even need to give them a trial and see it. You know what I mean? Like, what in the fuck is that? And the way that law works, if you are going to prohibit something, you have to put these things in there expressly, right? Like, you don't leave things open to interpretation unless you're doing it deliberately when you write law. Okay, when you're litigating, it's not, you don't leave shit to chance or, you know, wide open interpretation. So they did not. They said, the politicians said that they wouldn't use it on American citizens, but they did not write into the bill that it wouldn't be used on American citizens. And it has actually been used to kill 3 American citizens with drone strikes without trials. Obama signed the death warrants on 3 American citizens that were killed with drone strike without trial. So much for it not being used on American citizens. Joe Biden claims to author it, and they put this guy who authored this bill that took away all of our rights in office as they're locking down the whole planet. And all of this shit I've been talking about for the last hour and a half is supposed to just be a bunch of coincidental crap that's all wrong, and we shouldn't read anything into any of it. And if you do, apparently you're an idiot. I mean, I was reading on an 11th grade level and taken out of normal classes and put into like special classes for geniuses when I was a kid because I'm a fucking moron, apparently. And it's crazy when you know, if you really try to press people about like why they think something is implausible, or like, why do you believe in voting? You know, people are like, there's another one, you guys, another great example of the kind of cognitive dissonance that we are experiencing. When Trump was elected, the Democrats said Russia did it. And then they did this to the extent that there's video on YouTube of a representative from the Democratic Party accusing Putin to his face on television of rigging the election. When the right said that the election was rigged, they all scoffed and said that's impossible and ludicrous and ridiculous, and that would never happen. So the same people that had accused them when they lost were now claiming that it was impossible. And when it happened, it's like no one recalled it. Just like everyone just pretended like that never happened. How the fuck do people do this? I'm seriously just baffled, you know, that it's even possible for people to just, you know, I don't know, how do they do it? How does this level of mental gymnastics, how? So, okay, so, and just to kind of like suss this out a little bit, like, how ridiculous it is, why people believe that American elections can't be rigged. Like, I've asked people this, and the closest to a coherent response I've ever gotten in my life is a roll of the eyes, or some kind of suggestion that I'm a moron, or something along those lines. No one has ever given me a coherent response to like why they think it's ridiculous that American elections could be rigged. And, you know, just for the record, I'm not saying that Trump was rigged. I'm not saying Biden was rigged, although it sure the fuck looked like Biden was rigged. I mean, no one likes him, you know, on either side, and then Trump had a lot of supporters, and it certainly looked rigged. I mean, the evidence of our senses suggests very strongly. You know, I mean, I don't think either one of them is better, really, so I don't care. I don't think it's real at all, and the point is that no one has ever been able to tell me why they're so convinced that it's like something that they can trust. Because in when the Trump versus what's her name, Hillary Clinton, Hillary happened, an 11-year-old kid hacked a voting machine, a real one, in under 3 minutes and changed the results. The CEO of the company that made the machines both admitted to accepting contracts from the CIA to make rigged machines to ship to other countries, which kind of implies they have no ethics and that they would put rigged machines in the United States, right? So if they can be hacked by an 11-year-old, the company has admitted to rigging elections in other countries. What? And here's another one. Blockchain technology, it would absolutely 100% make unfuckwithable elections, right? You couldn't, it's all public ledger. Blockchain technology has existed for 3 election cycles. Maybe 4, actually. 4. If they really want to make secure elections, and we have a technology that has existed for 2 decades, why aren't they using it? I'm not trying to insinuate anything. I'm just saying, like, why aren't they using it? They want secure elections. We have a technology for that. Why hasn't it been implemented? Why are we still using voting machines that have been hacked by an 11-year-old in under 3 minutes? Why, you know what I mean? Like, really? But really, the scariest part of it is that the Democrats all accused one side of rigging it and colluding with Russia in 2016 or whenever it was. Is that when? I don't care, whatever. And then they acted like it was preposterous when their side was accused of it a few years later. That is sheer dumbfuckery of a scale that I never would have conceived of before I witnessed it. Am I wrong? I mean, please do support the channel, by the way. There's a wallet address for crypto. You can send PayPal and Zelle to the email address. There's a Cash App thing because we're demonetized. And I'm almost expecting after doing this one that they're going to send me a bill, right? Because they've already demonetized me. So what else can they do? I mean, they're just going to send me a fucking bill now. Like, you are telling the truth, and therefore you owe us $10,000 in damages. But I mean, did we get to all of it? They laughed in our faces for saying that COVID was engineered. Now they're saying it was engineered. Both sides have accused the other side of rigging elections and then acted like it was impossible when the other side accused the other side again. Bill Gates, everyone said the elite pedophile thing was ridiculous. And now Bill Gates and Bill Clinton and Epstein and all of them basically have been to this island and lied about it and all of this stuff. Kamala Harris is one of the scariest fucking people to ever walk the face of the earth, as far as we know. And we have people propping their children up and telling them to admire her because she's black and female. We have a right wing that is still sitting around waiting for Jesus to show up and believing that Donald Trump, who has exhibited symptoms of an incestuous pedophile for decades, is going to save us all from pedophilia. I mean, this is actually the world that we're living in right now, you guys. Thank God for psychedelics, because I don't think it's possible for people that have had, profound psychedelic experiences to be delivered into delusion to the extent that these people have. COVID did come from a lab. Bill Clinton, Bill Gates are pedophiles. Oh, I didn't mention the Biden video I saw the other day. Look, you guys, this is just a live stream, okay? I'm not the president of the fucking United States, but I still try not to waste your time. I try to choose my words carefully. I try to speak from a heart. I try to make sure I know what I'm saying and why I'm saying it. I saw some footage of what's it, Biden the other day talking at a rally or something, and he's like, I am going to deploy Hartman Black and all around the world. Like, he didn't even try to make words. He doesn't give a fuck what he is saying. Like, it doesn't matter to him at all. It's not like, he wasn't even misreading anything, you know? I mean, I know I said this in the last live stream, but it's important to take note of this stuff. I mean, this guy's like, and in the crowd just cheered. Like, nobody was like, wait, he just didn't even say anything. He didn't even bother to like rephrase it or like pull himself together and say something coherent, because he knew at this point, the unthinking masses are so hypnotized that the president can just get up on a podium and literally ramble gibberish at them incoherently, demonstrating that he does not care at all what's coming out of his mouth or what, you know, whether it has any substance. It's not coming from his heart. It's not even coming from his head. It's just that he knows he's supposed to stand up there and spew shit and no one's listening anyways. And you know what I mean? Like, it's gotten fucking scary. Truly. So we have got to build up the psychedelic community, and we got to have another revolution. I mean, I have been hesitant to actually hey, weird, I just saw a chat message, but it came from my notifications. It definitely says chat is disabled. And for those of you that are just tuning in, we've just come to the conclusion that my chat was disabled for the first time ever because of the subject matter. They can't like put their fact checker shit on it and they know what I'm talking about or whatever, you know what I mean? So they can't control it. So they've at least obstructed our ability to communicate. Actually, you know what, you guys? I'm going to kill this live stream right now, but I'm going to make another link real quick. And if you want to jump back on and give me some feedback, I'd actually appreciate that. So I'm going to make another link. And if you guys want to jump back on, and I'm just not going to give it a title, maybe, because clearly they have shut our chat down because they don't want us to be able to communicate with each other. So I'll make another link, and I'll see you in a second.